President Biden announced an $8 billion grant to Intel on Wednesday. That's one of the biggest federal investments in U.S. chip manufacturing ever.
Yeah, the money comes from the Chips and Science Act, which passed Congress in 2022. It aims to boost domestic manufacturing of semiconductor chips. The White House says that will benefit the U.S. economy and bolster national security.
On his watch, companies sent American jobs overseas for cheaper labor and imported products. We're creating jobs in America and exporting American products. My predecessor and his allies in Congress want to go back. In fact, the vast majority of the team on the other side, my Republican friends, didn't vote for the Chips and Science Act.
Well, the funding will support construction and expansion of Intel facilities in Arizona, Ohio, New Mexico, and Oregon, and is expected to create thousands of jobs.
Joining us now, Mark Lauder, America First Policy Institute, Chief Communications Officer and former press secretary for Mike Pence, and also Joel Rubin, President of Washington Strategy Group and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Legislative Affairs in the Obama administration. Love a short title. Gentlemen.
Catch your breath.
Imagine how I feel.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you guys for being here. Joel, we'll start with you. Arizona, of course, a swing state that Biden won barely, fewer than 11,000 votes back in 2020. So how does this news play into his political favor, perhaps, for his chances this time around?
It's great to be with you and with Mark as well. This is a big win for the president. $10 billion grant, roughly $10 billion given to Intel. It builds American jobs here at home. It invests in the industries of the future. It ensures that we can export, as the president said, high-quality products for made by high-paying jobs. And look, this is an achievement that, in a way, cuts both ways for the president. He demonstrates, as he said there in that clip, that he got something done. He got infrastructure done. Remember how President Trump said we're going to get an infrastructure bill, and as Democrats, we love to say it's infrastructure week, every week, waiting, never happened. Now it did for President Biden. But also he can point to how there were Republicans that supported this. This did have original Republican supports. Chairman Mike McCall from Texas really led this in the House in many ways. And so he can point to independents in Arizona, that he knows how to work across the aisle, get things done, achieve things for the American people, for our economy, and for our future. And so I think it's a big win for him and for the United States.
So, Mark, over to you. Donald Trump's legal cases have become financial obstacles. If he's unable to secure a bond to cover the $500 million judgment against him in the New York civil fraud case, he may soon see his assets seized by the state. How, if at all, do you think this will affect his campaign if it comes to that?
Yeah, I think it'll backfire, just like the mugshot. That they couldn't wait to get a mugshot of Donald Trump, and it backfired on them. He got more popular. A lot of people out there see that there was no victim in these alleged crimes. In fact, Deutsche Bank testified on behalf of Trump in his defense against these New York charges. And so, if they take this step of starting to seize assets or throwing padlocks on Trump Tower, I think it's just going to be another very powerful visual sign that the left will do anything they can to get this guy, rather than actually just let's have it out at the ballot box.
Which is a political argument, not a legal argument, just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked how it was going to affect the campaign, so yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm just saying, yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Well, Federal Chairman Jerome Powell announced yesterday that the central bank would, kind of keep interest rates the same. Folks are anxious for them to come down, whether trying to buy a house or buy a car, you're watching your credit card bills go up, or what have you. But I would encourage folks who are frustrated to look at the stock market right now. We're in record territory right now. You should be loving your 401k over the last 3 or 4 months. The Dow near 40,000, historic. So I'm curious, again, the disconnect between the macro numbers and the kitchen table. Is that a solvable or dentable political problem, do you think?
Yeah, I do.
Look, go ahead.
Or do you want Mark to answer this one?
No, you go first, then Mark.
Thanks. Yeah, Rob. Look, you can add to that the numbers of unemployment, which are at a record 50-year low as well. And frankly, the Fed is an independent agency, and unlike President Trump, Joe Biden actually allows the Fed chairman to make his own decisions and doesn't harass them in public. And I think that we see the Fed has maintained our ability to have a strong economy in the midst of what have been incredible global spikes. Look, you compare our country to other countries around the world when it comes to inflation, and we are leading the pack. No country would want to stay where they are if they could switch with us. We are the envy of the world economically. And so it's going to take time, and the president has to explain how the macroeconomic situation is filtering into the pocketbook, and he's making initiatives like capping insulin at $35 a month, other initiatives to cut down on junk fees and credit cards to try to make sure that in the pocketbook, Americans feel the benefits of a strong economy, especially when compared to the entire planet, which has taken shocks from the Russia war and from COVID. So, yeah, I think he has to make the argument, but there's a lot of arguments to make. This has been managed well through a period of significant economic turmoil.
And to be clear, we do expect the Fed did signal that there could be down the road 3 interest rate cuts, which you alluded to, later this year. So that's what the stock market reacted to, because we will see this thing come down, which over the next 3 quarters of this year. So that's why the Dow was up 400 or 500 points yesterday.
So, Mark, House Republicans, in an effort to tie Hunter Biden's overseas business deals to President Biden's impeachment inquiry, held an 8-hour hearing yesterday alleging the president's family received $24 million in foreign business deals. Hunter was not there, but there was shouting, accusations, and a witness from prison and a congressman wearing a Putin mask. I saw that on X. Has this turned into more of a circus than what was originally intended?
Well, I think, obviously when you have, Democrats showing up in Putin masks, I think the circus speaks for itself. But look, I think there's very important information that's coming across in these hearings. There is no question the Biden family received tens of millions of dollars from foreign business interests. The question is why? What did they do for this? In an influence peddling scheme, you have to have influence. Well, there's only one person in the Biden family who had influence. That was Joe Biden. And he was on the phone with Hunter's clients. He was having pictures taken with them in restaurants, both while he was vice president and while he was signaling that he was going to run for president. And people don't like the way that looks. And so having this information out there is important. But at the end of the day, I think people go to the polls in November and say, who's going to lower my grocery prices, gas prices, secure the border? And those are the issues that are actually resonating right now. And I think none of this, whether it's the chips or whether act or whether it's the hearings, are going to change that.
And real quick, Mark, before we let you go, last question. Do you just want to circle back to the civil fraud case in New York? I'm just curious, for someone who for decades has kind of been this emblem in America for mogul, real estate mogul, wealthy man, the apprentice, the name on the buildings, and for all of the rich Republican donors there could be, why is Donald Trump having such trouble getting $500 million? It's a lot of money to regular folks.
Because it was a lie.
but not, well, that's Letitia James' stance that, well, you over-talked what you have and now you can't write the check. But Mark, from the Republican perspective, why is this so hard for the president?
Well, I don't think a lot of people, especially successful business people, have $500 million laying around in a bank account. They have it invested. They have it tied up in assets. And so to be able to become liquid and free those assets, you have to make changes. And obviously on a short time frame, that's the challenge that is involved. But again, there's no question that the value of these properties is immense.
Mark, I appreciate that, but President Trump a few weeks ago said he had the money in a national TV interview. So I think Letitia James put her finger on the Achilles heel of this man, which is that he's been making up numbers about his wealth for decades, and now he's finally needing to pay. And he's probably going to come to those wealthy Republican donors and say, put a lot of money in the RNC, and maybe I can figure out how to launder it and pay my legal bills.
And to be clear, I think there was an email to supporters last night asking MAGA supporters around the country for a donation to help him raise the money. And I think he said in a deposition, I have $400 million in cash. And he said that under oath in a deposition.
All right, Mark Lauder, America First Policy Institute Chief Communications Officer, and Joel Rubin, President of Washington Strategy Group. Thank you both for your time this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.